Alright, so I have to I have to release this next video because it seems to be the running chord and case with all composers. I'm not going to go through them all, but I would say at least 99.9% of all composers who wrote either Baroque, classical, romantic, or modern have this exact thing happen to them. So what is it? First is the period where they write their music. We'll start with Mozart. When Mozart started writing his music, one of the critics once said, "There's too many notes." And it was so accustomed to Mozart being told there's too many notes that they actually cut a few in his opera, to which the King Joseph Emperor II came to the recital and didn't hear any music for the acting of the opera, and he said, "What's going on?" So finally Mozart was redeemed and they brought the music back in that he originally wrote. So that's the first case. We see Mozart, playful, laughable, happy-going genius, and the first thing they said was, "There's too many notes," and stuff like that. There's other things that could go on in Mozart, but we're going to go to the second one, Beethoven. When Beethoven first started writing his pieces, they called his music harebrained. They gossiped that he broke pianos, which nowadays our pianos work better because of Beethoven breaking so many key strings, slamming on the keyboard. And they said that his music was, just too hard to play. So that was Beethoven. Now we'll go to Bach. With Bach, he was living well past 1800 because he lived 65 to 66 years of his life, and he was born around 1730 or 40. So he lived past the early 1800s, and by then classical was taking over. With Bach, they said that his melodies he was writing for the choir were like an organ doing a solo right hand, up and down, weaving in different melodies. They also said of Bach that his music was old-fashioned and unappreciated well after his death. Only Mozart, Beethoven, and Haydn and a few other composers knew of pieces like his Well-Tempered Clavier, his cantatas, and his instrument works. Now we'll go to Schubert. Schubert wrote Lear, which is an art song, which is a choir and piano piece, kind of like a hymn, only the only difference between it not being a hymn is it's a poem written to music. These were fiercely romantic pieces. The famous lyric we get from Schubert would be something death or maiden in death, something like that. I forget the name of it. And now we go on to the master of all of them, Baroque, classical, and romantic master Clark. They literally diagnosed him with a mental illness for saying he wanted to write 1,000 pieces. They haven't performed him one time in over 31 years of composing nonstop. He got a standing ovation when he played his Sonata 57 for an audience that only his girlfriend paid for to play at a local gathering of musicians with guitars, pianos, and singers and dancers. But what did they say about me? They said I was obsessive. They said I was wasting my time. And they said it didn't matter. So put your smart cap on, use your thinking brain, and think about the pattern you see going on. I'm 31 years old. Next, I'll be 32. In a few more years, I'll be 40. In more years, I'll be 60. And in many years, I'll be 80. And by the time I'm 80, I'll be dead. I might reach my 90s, but most men live to 80 to 90. So around 90 years old, I'll be dead. And I'll have Opus 9000 plus. What will they say then? Will I be famous? Indefinitely. Will I be performed? Indefinitely. Will I be recounted with Bach and only Bach because I could hear the mistakes of Mozart and Beethoven? Definitely. And then it'll all come out, and for everyone from me to Telemon, the only coworker who wrote 3,500 pieces besides myself, will be redeemed by the last great Baroque classical and romantic composer. Think about that.